This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
I want to kind of stop our train of thought here for a second and say something about Peggy Latham.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Which we haven't had a chance to discuss yet. I mentioned the story online, and first of all, Peggy recently passed away from South Carolina, friend of the shows, but more than that, a friend of the business, and really a friend of the business. She was, and we're probably going to see it if we, I don't think she ever came to the TBS studios, but obviously she was everywhere in South Carolina. We see some footage probably from South Carolina. We'll see Peggy there in the front row. I've told the story many times, and the story is a true story because it was told to me by Ole Anderson about Peggy saving his life. It happened in Greenville, South Carolina, according to Ole. And Ole is, this is back in the days, Conrad, when heat was real, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And people who hated Ole Anderson really hated Ole Anderson. And Ole would encourage shit like this because he would say on his promos, if you think you're tough, if you think you're a truck driver and you think you're tough, or you think you're a guy who works in a factory or whatever, he will always hit the blue collar guys.
Yep.
Then, come up and confront me one time. We'll see how tough you are. Well, this gentleman did confront him as he's going back to the locker room. And he said a guy wielded a knife. And of course, Ole being Ole says, what do you think you're going to do with that? I'm going to end up sticking it up your ass, is what he told the guy. And the guy sliced him, which if you ever saw Ole wrestle, you saw the big slice across his chest. And I went, oh my God, what happened? He said, I thought I was dead. He said, I thought I was dead. I started to bleed. He said, and Peggy came over and put pressure on it and took care of it until the ambulance got there. He said, so she saved my life. So that's a story that's real. And Peggy and Ole became and Ole's girlfriend, I think her name is Marcy, became very close friends and we're still close friends, obviously, up until Peggy's death. And it's a great story about how Peggy, who's a nurse, helped Ole, saved his life, and how big of a friend she was to the business. And got to reconnect with her in 2016 at the NWA Fan Fest, where it's kind of really the ball started rolling, where you saw me and all that stuff. And it kind of really hit us in the gut, didn't it, when we heard about her?
Man, it's, I don't know, dude. It was a tough deal because it's like every time I saw her, she was just the light of the room. And it's hard to imagine that there would ever be a time where she wasn't around and wasn't part of what we were doing. And we've had a lot of fun talking about her here on the show and made her like an honorary member of our crew. And, I first met her in 2013. She was really tight friends with Dick Bourne, and
right.
Dick introduced me to her at the NWA Legends Fan Fest back when Greg Price still had it. And even though we really only hung out that one time a year, we both looked forward to it. And we would, get to spend time with each other, and she would point and laugh at all of us guys who were, interested in wrestling belts. And she was so fun. And I'll never forget, when we had, I don't know, so many good times hanging out with her. She's going to be so sorely missed. I loved having all of her smack talk all over my Facebook wall about Clemson every time they would take us to the woodshed. And from what I understand, she was at this year's Fan Fest. This year it was a different outfit putting it together, but it was could have been my last opportunity to hang with her. And I had a family reunion that weekend, so I didn't get to make it. And I regret it, man. Tell those people in your life that you care about that you love them before it's too late. You never know when it could be the last time. She was at that event like 3 weeks ago, and
right.
And now she's gone. So, but man, what a legacy she left. I mean, she got probably like a page and a half write-up in the Observer, and there's been a lot of performers in the business who didn't get that kind of treatment, but just universally loved. I mean, you never saw one bad thing ever written about her. And I mean, Ric Flair met her in 1974, really processed that. I mean, she was the queen of Mid-Atlantic to the point that when he's first breaking in the business, he meets her. And, I'll never forget, there's an old tape out there of an old Fan Fest where he's on stage giving a speech, you know, at one of those early Fan Fest conventions, maybe one of the first ones where they had the horsemen together. And he's in the middle of telling a story and he sees Peggy and he stops and he says, "Oh my God, Peggy Latham." And it's like, imagine, you know, this is quote unquote just a fan. And he just stops in the middle of some blackjack or wahoo or whatever story to shout her out. So sorely missed. One of the great people I've had the good fortune of meeting in wrestling. And Tony, you know, it's so funny because wrestling is one of those deals where I have a whole category of friends that are what I would call my wrestling friends, which, you know, who would have guessed that would be the case, but it is.
She, when I did my sit down with Jim Valley at the Fan Fest in 2016, and of course we walk backstage, and Jim Valley is the one that says to me, you know, you really need to do something with this because that was really entertaining out there. So I walk in the back into kind of the green room, and Peggy's back there because, you know, it's Peggy, right? You don't allow basically fans of the Fan Fest back in the green room, but you allow Peggy. And Peggy was back there, and she came up to me, and I remember exactly what she said. She went, "You." And I went, "What, me?" She said, "Yeah, you stole the show today." And I said, "That means a lot, Peggy, coming from you." She said, "Well, I just had so much fun watching you and listening to your stories." And of course we took a picture. I posted the picture on social media, and she had that Southern, you know, lady drawl as only rednecks from South Carolina have. And yeah, she'll be missed.
I can't believe she's really gone, man. It's just one of those deals where, again, you just assume somebody's going to be there forever. And
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.